All right, I've got
some crazy legacy deck. I don't know.
I've got the next one. It's 2 generic and blue. It's called Hedron Alignment.
Woo woo.
Like Mike's favorite card. It's an enchantment, hexproof. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal your hand. If you do, you win the game. All right, that sounds good. If you own a card named Hedron Alignment, you win the game. Exile. If you own one of these in exile, your hand in the graveyard and on the battlefield. And you can also use a generic and blue to scry one.
Yeah, I mentioned this card last week.
Yeah.
Because I'm excited about it. Is anybody else here excited about this card besides me?
I really wanted to just be you reveal your hand, you win the game.
I have some improvements to your deck.
Oh, okay.
So you should play Oath of Jace for the Jamoka's Command.
Protection, yeah,
Protection,
you're right. Yeah,
yeah.
you're absolutely correct on that one. I don't know. This card has not shown up in the beta yet, and even I've been too chicken to try and play in the beta. Like, I feel like I'm wasting my time, and that's really unfair, I know. But I wanted this to happen so bad. I just wanted it to happen so bad. Like, you know how that guy said he's going to pay a bunch of money if Seance got played at the Pro Tour? Well, guess what? I'm paying up. It has to be the modern Pro Tour, though. I hope you understand that.
So I guess it comes down to what cards in Standard let us search our library. Dark Petition.
Yep. Almost cast it by itself. So Dig Through Time, it counts enough. Like, if you're playing a 4 of that you need to find all of them, of the, 7 cards is close enough to a larger portion of your deck that you can start using that as a way to, search for it. So
you could even exile ones that are in your graveyard if you need to
absolutely
get into the exile zone.
That's the value. So, now granted, you could argue that there's probably anything else in the world you want to be Dig Through Timing for, but not when you're crazy like me.
And now we got to play Den Protector in case you have 2 of them end up in your graveyard.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, Den Protector.
Right. This deck kind of built itself.
You're playing a bunch of really good cards around 4 terrible ones. But the scry is sweet, so...
Now, you could actually play Starfield Nyx so that, the one...
It returns it?
Yeah, it returns it. Also, when it gets active, you have a 3/3 hexproof creature.
Why don't you just play these as just the hexproof creatures? Never actually try to win with the trigger.
I was about to say, oh man, we can hook them up with auras, but the auras will be creatures.
No, doesn't it say non-aura creatures?
Is that how that works?
I think so.
Oh man, the value.
I don't know. I've only had Starfield Nyx cast against me once, and I died. So
we have 2 people looking up Starfield of Nyx right now.
Yeah, non-aura enchantment.
Okay, see, it's like they did it. They fixed it for me, so I can.
Very, very wise wizards.
If you have a sweet Hedron Alignment brew, please send it my way. I want to look at it and make.
Conley Woods, we're looking at you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I would have said Travis Wu, but not so much. I apologize. That was no, I don't apologize.
Yeah, we don't really appreciate his alignment on anything. So
wow.
That was good. That was good reverberation on that one. That was good.
It was solid.
All right, moving on.
Yep.
Okay. So, man, we should switch this up. I should have had to read each on a line, but I feel like you got punished, Keller.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
The next one is Oath of Jace. So it's 2 generic and a blue for a legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you may draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may scry X, where X is the number of planeswalkers you control. Now, right off the bat, I feel like this is the most playable, if not the second most playable, obviously next to the Green Oath, which we'll get to, of the oaths. This is already compulsive research-esque card on 3. We haven't had a draw 3 discard 2 effect at 3 mana for a long time. Yes, I know research is obviously better and thirst for knowledge is obviously better, but in a format with Delve, in a format where you want to flip your Jace, this card seems pretty powerful. And this with a Jace, you get that Scry 1/2, which is also pretty sweet.
I found it a bit weird with this playing that it stays in play. So your card drawer that you would expect to get 3 cards in your graveyard, you discard 2 plus the spell. Right. It makes it a little bit awkward to get that extra little delve, but I do like this card. This card's pretty cool.
You trying to tell me that Oath of Jace works well with Jace?
Crazy, I know.
Oh.
Hey, Jace, this is turn 2 Jace. It's turn 3, you're Jace, say the magic words. For the sake of the multiverse, I will keep watch.
Gets a spark.
That is the flavor text on Oath of Jace, just so you know. So I do wish, I don't know, I feel like the artwork on these oaths are terrible, though. Am I crazy for thinking that? Gideon's okay. Jace looks
they're not bad.
Jace looks like this weird, stoic Aryan guy. When they put the eyes on his face like that, and they draw him he looks like the Jace on the really terrible promo art of the Architect of Thought, where it's just
Comb over Jace.
That's what he looks like now, where he's just I'm 15.
I mean, he always has his hood on, so little did you know he just always has a comb over. That's just his style.
Well, I mean, like...
Well, except for that one, like the spiky haired Jace. That was weird.
That guy was cool. I like that guy.
Yeah, that was just the Japanese promo, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No, that was the mill Jace.
Oh,
right?
memory depth. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like the cloud from like Final Fantasy.
I just
7.
weird. Like, he's a slender guy. Like, he's illustrated as slender all the time, except for this weird, like, big beefy shoulders version because he's given some sort of oath. Like, just like, hold on, let me beef up like Gideon for
It's
a
the
minute.
way he's standing. It's kind of standing at an angle.
No, don't tell me that garbage.
It's the pleats in the pants.
It's bleeds. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna say it's morphin time. When I see these oaths, and just like,
So, like, this is Triceratops in the art behind Jace. And,
yeah.
Well, we already did Power Ranger, man. That was the.
I understand. This is also Power Rangers-esque. I'm sorry.
you know, there are like,
There's no Mastodon.
you know, there are like 100 different iterations of Power Rangers, so we can find one that fits.
Oh yeah.
There's no Mastodon, man.
Yeah.
It's actually up next to the list because he's of the Black Watch.
Well, he's a Black Oath.
Whatever, I don't care.
But people who are saying that there should have been a Black Oath, Liliana didn't want to come, first of all, and no Black Planeswalker should be like, yeah, I'm going to protect the multiverse. They're like, I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah, Liliana was invited. She didn't want to come to the party. She missed out.
Yeah.
It's fine.
She didn't have to take no oaths.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll be back. For
She plead the fifth.
Yeah.
So many oaths, which one do I choose?
All right, next
I
card.
think the last time Liliana promised something to
It ended
someone else,
poorly
it
for
ended
her.
poorly to her.
Well, kind of in them too, right? Eventually.
Yeah, I guess.
Real quick, before we move off of Oath of Jace, in all seriousness, I do think, while the Scry X ability probably won't come up that often, if you ever get to do it, it's just free value.
Yeah,
And like
it's
I said,
icing.
if you're playing this with Jace,
Yeah, I bet it comes up
Bryn's
more than
Prodigy
you
in your
think.
deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just awesome. Like being able to scry, even if you're just scrying one,
Yeah.
every upkeep is
That
Not
that
bad.
was fine on Thassa, you know.
yeah.
So
You got to play it for the scry, you know. All right. So the last blue card we have on the list here is Overwhelming Denial. It's a counterspell. So it costs 2 generic blue instant. Overwhelming Denial can't be countered by spells or abilities, and it just says counter target spell. It also has a surge cost of blue. So if you played, if you or a teammate have cast another spell, you can just actually counterspell something.
Uncounterable counterspell. something.
Uncounterable counterspell something. I don't think this card is that great, but it is interesting in some cases. I guess if you need to really force something through.
So
if you're playing like a blue on blue matchup,
there's there's instances where like this is like if you're trying to counter an opponent's spell, it's better, right?
No.
Or is it when you're
if you're trying to protect your
spell?
it's better.
Okay.
yeah.
Because if you're trying to counter an opponent's spell, they play a spell, then you have to play like a dispel or negate. Then they have to try to counter that. Then this is turned on.
Yeah, but isn't if you're playing your own spell and they counter your spell and then you counter their spell, they just counter your spell again?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like,
thought
this
it's
card
better.
overall is still just better at countering your opponent's spells.
Mhm.
Even
At 4 mana. I mean, I guess if we're talking the surge costs or
even in a counter war, it's still better on your opponent's spell than your spell. Because they can always just recounter the original spell with their second counter spell.
Yeah.
I feel like this one, if we're just looking at the surge, it's a lot more awkward because some of the other ones, like the sorcery speed ones, are ones that you can kind of set up a little bit more easily. Like you're not always going to know when you're going to have a counter war. You know what I mean? So I think a lot more of the times you're going to be casting this for 4 and not 2. So
I don't think this card is particularly good.
no, I don't think so either.
Like I think you now have an option of mono blue, but I think that's always want to be playing Counterflux if I was playing this in like in older formats, anyways, right? Like paying because at 4 mana Counterflux is also insanely better than this spell. So I don't know. It seems average to me.
Yeah. I think people will like try it in Twin and then be like, That's my assumption.
I mean, that's probably true. I mean, if you have a deck that just doesn't have red, but I like this card, but you're right, it probably won't see that much play.
So that's
Type
blue.
4.
Type 4 All-Star. Blue definitely got some interesting cards, I think, and maybe some that we may not have even covered, but better than it has in the past, I feel. At least the past few sets. I guess like you got Jace in Origins that whatever. We don't want to bring Jace up because we got it wrong, but it seems like there's some interesting tools that Blue gets, and Blue's not necessarily even in a bad place right now. It's kind of in a different place, I think, and I think people don't quite understand that. Blue's just different now, and that's okay. But I think Blue gets some sweet cards, especially like Blue aggressive decks with Slip Through Space, or like Blue Jeskai combo decks. I think that's a pretty cool card for them to print. But
moving on to black, do we want to talk about Bearer of Silence?
Yeah, we just added it, so
it's
a recent addition that has been added twice, so we have to talk about it twice as much.
My apologies.
All right, Bearer of Silence is a generic and a black for a 2/1 Eldrazi. Devoid, obviously, flying, can't block, and when you cast Bearer of Silence, you may pay 1 generic, 1 colorless. If you do, target opponent sacrifices a creature. So, all these triggers on these Eldrazi's are cast triggers, not comes into play triggers, which either helps you or hurts you.
Well, I think
mostly helps you. I think
with Displacer in the format, I don't think they could have printed like when this enters the battlefield. Yeah. You could pay this for your opponent to sacrifice a creature. I think they were definitely aware of that on some of these triggers.
Yeah, but they kept them all the same. They're all cast triggers, I believe. Right.
Right.
This card seems okay. I think the body's maybe a little small. Might be holding it back. 4 mana for a.
I mean, it just depends on what it's doing, because I think this card is still fine on turn 2, and it's getting a ton of play in the beta. Like, it really is. It certainly isn't that exciting, and it does not match up well against a lot of the, I've been playing a deck with, like, Mantis Rider or, like, the 1/3 that we'll get to later. Like, it does not match up well there. But, there's a ton of 2-for-1 set up in this Eldrazi deck. Just a ton of them. And, if you're just jamming them all in the same deck, then you're going to get value out of this. Obviously there are still a lot of tokens running around, so like there are going to be the format could just shape up where this card is not good at all for a while. But I mean, like this is the perfect kind of deck I want to have in the main deck if my opponents are playing like Esper Dragons. You know what I mean? Like an aggressive 2/1 flyer that is also a main deck answer to like Ojutai. Like sign me up immediately. So I think the card is more than playable, and it could either be great to really meh, depending on how the format shapes up.
I just think that you're going to see a lot of the Eldrazi aggro decks play black, and this slots right into those.
It gives them a nice 2-drop.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice 2-drop or a 4-drop, which I mean those type of cards that kind of are modal almost, and you just have just more options with. They're always good. I mean 2/1 flying, unblockable for 2. Again, it's not great, just like we were talking about the blue one. But
this one isn't unblockable. That's what you said.
Can't block. Sorry, if it was unblockable, actually
vastly
really
different.
Flying and unblockable, just in case.
Is there a reason this one can't block?
I mean, so otherwise it could hold on the 4 it by itself against a smaller board where you're just like, stack a guy and then I got a blocker. You know what I mean? Like I feel like maybe they didn't want this black aggressive card to have the ability to be so dirtily.
Okay.
So I mean that's my only assumption.
I mean, there are a lot of cards Captain a double shield can't block. What's his name? The Bloodsoaked Champion.
The double shield.
Well, that makes sense because all the recursion cards can't block.
Yeah.
All the recent recursions can't block. But
yes, that's true. Oh.
Captain's double shield.
Have you not looked at the art of that card? He's actually holding 2.
No, I certainly have looked at the art of that card. I've never heard him called Captain Double Shield.
He just has 2 shields and can't block. It's hilarious. Makes no sense.
Maybe that's why he keeps dying.
Aww. Look, just raise your arm. Oh no.
And someone might correct me and be like, well, those aren't shields, those are weapons. But it's like, they look like shields to me, so I mean, whatever. Anyway.
All right, next card. We have Flaying Tendrils. A generic black for a devoid sorcery. All creatures get -2/-2 until the turn. If a creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So this is our Infest, Drown in Sorrow variant, which is nice because, we get used to them in the format and they disappear for a while, and then a Tarkarite comes up and I'm like, where'd you go, Infest? Why'd you leave me so soon?
All these creatures need to be -2/-2'd. So
this is one of those cards though that's devoid for no reason, which is really weird. The other ones you could argue there's protection from color it gets around,
Yeah.
This would like what is
Well, the reason is just flavor.
what flavor?
It's Eldrazi because it's exiling instead.
I guess.
No, there's no I guess. It's literally what it is. They're exiling
It's
the creatures.
still
so-
useless.
You can't remove this one to Soul Spike.
There you go. That's it. He found it.
Yeah.
So this one, it's actually worse than. Like,
There's multiple
Incest.
arguments, and you can go look through like the old like designer searches about like devoid on a card for the sake of devoid, like is like a weird flavor fail. Like it doesn't add more flavor to this. Like oh well they're all drowsy, so they're exiling. Okay, great. You could have printed this on like so anger of the gods exiled because the gods were really angry.
Super angry.
No, it
Yeah,
exiled
like-
because
they're like,
it exiled because the
don't even
format.
go to the
is exiled.
graveyard.
It's not being overly picky. This does not need anything.
They use the void here just to signify factions. That's all it is.
So- okay, so dissipate is also
Because
not
if they
devoid.
didn't put the void on here, you would think this is a Zendikar spell.
Okay, I guess.
Anyway,
I don't
Anyways,
know.
this card's really good against Rally.
yeah. It's good
I'm
against
allowed to
Rally.
be annoyed by devoid. I'm allowed.
It-
You can be annoyed by. You can be as wrong as you want. I
I'm
don't care.
annoyed by Keller right now too.
Are
So-
you annoyed by the Noid?
Does he have the void?
Devoid the noid.
We did it, guys. I rescind my previous comment. If that's the only thing you take away from this podcast,
You know that's the title. Devoid the noid.
What about Bobo
Is
and
your
Angry
pizza
Bobo? I like
colorless
that
then?
one.
Like, why is my pizza gray? Well, you had to avoid the noid, man. I don't know what to tell you.
oh
It's
man,
like a really obscure reference.
yeah,
that not a lot of people are going to
Yeah,
get.
not a lot of people are going to be like, "What's
Can
the
I just point out
Noid?"
that that video game for the NES is so much fun? He like runs around with a yo-yo for some reason, and it's called Yo-Noid.
Anyway, one last thing about playing tendrils is anytime I see this, it just reminds me of Licky Tongue from Pokemon, and I just want to alter Licky Tongue. It is tongue.
Look at some of the tokens I used for a long time. I don't know if that's what you're searching for. That's the,
There you
that's
go.
it.
That's pretty
good. You're right, Keller. I guess I should be okay with this being that, but I do say the art on this. I know what it's trying to depict, but that really looks like some of these Eldrazi with Kozilek's emblem really look sort of like the spirits from Kamigawa, like in a big massive art like this. Like I'm imagining like ridiculous Kamigawa spirits at the same time. So
Is that going to be the big reveal on
please
Uncharted Realms
God, I
next
hope
week?
not. Hey,
We're actually from Kamigawa.
so what is it like? return to Kamigawa, what's Tamio been up to?
All right.
Yeah. So in all seriousness, with this card, Kelly, you mentioned it's good against Rally. It's also good at exiling Hangerback Walker before it gets out of control. And Captain Double Shield can't come back from this one.
Nope.
You just
Nope. You don't.
no.
Apparently, his
Not that-
weakness tendrils.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
I don't think that's going to be as relevant in Standard.
Not a
but-
lot of
You like
those-
walk tendrils?
Not a lot of those
Yeah,
in cons.
these guys have shields. It is
It's
not
not
helping
doing.
them.
It's not doing
Yeah.
any good.
Yeah. See,
Nope.
it's just illustrating. It doesn't matter anyway. All right. Next card, Reaver Drone. Let me get to that one. Reaver Drone is single black for a creature Eldrazi drone. It's a 2/1 to void. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life unless you control another colorless creature. Not really exciting, but as I said, if there is a playable aggro Eldrazi deck, it'll be based black. And I think this will be a staple along with previously we talked about Barrow Silence. I think those are going to be 2 of the main, I guess, black creatures that you would play in that style of deck. But other than that, 2 1s for 1 just really aren't that exciting anymore in Magic. I feel like, just Savannah Lions. It's been a long time since Savannah Lions was good.
I think this card actually might be hard to cast because a lot of that Eldrazi aggro decks, at least some of the lists people have been posting, have had a lot of colorless lands in them.
Yeah,
The only thing that's saving grace is really like the Crumbling Vestige.
yeah. It depends on how hard you're going on the colorless. Like if you're playing half black producing lands and half colorless, it might not be too bad.
But-
If you have 10 to 12 lands.
That deck's actually a
added.
3-color deck. It's black, red, and colorless. So you need
Right,
3
yeah.
different types of mana. So then 1-drops are kind of hard to play in those decks.
Yeah, no Sulphurous Springs in Standard, unfortunately.
Rats. Would have made that deck
Like
too.
the,
card would be
the
real
triple
good.
dual land. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, the untapped tri-land.
Yeah. But yeah, this card is 1 mana 2/1. Sure, get it in there. Him and Captain Double Shield again.
Captain Double Shield.
Partners.
Partners in crime.
Partner up. Yeah.
All right, next one is a reprint. Grasp of Darkness. Black for an instant. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. Last time this was in Standard was Scars of Mirrodin. Saw 0 play. But, I mean, that was, go for the throw was legal, so why would you play this card? You'd go for the throw. This card doesn't kill Siege Rhino.
Nope. That's definitely a problem.
But it does go back to earlier when we said there's a lot of 2-mana removal, so it might be okay. I don't know.
Compared to what we've seen in this format, especially out of these black aggro decks that wish they had a better removal, they do not want to play Ruinous Path.
Yeah.
So I feel like this card is much closer. Now, it is Encore that it looks like the black aggro deck also really wants a heavy colorless component.
It's going to be hard to cast black.
Are you seeing the black deck that's mono black that's playing 4 Caves and 4 Llanowar Wastes? Right? And I'm not kidding. I think that's a legitimate option, so you can always have your spells. So this card really is in an awkward space because it's so hard to cast. When a double black spell is harder to cast than a 3-color spell, the format's weird. But it's a powerful option, and again, we haven't seen, Bile-Blight left, and we have, ultimate price, and the ultimate price is just not very good right now because it literally kills no gold creatures and no devoid creatures. Cool card.
Yeah, that is definitely an awkward thing with Ultimate Price being around. So, I mean, it is difficult to cast, but it could see more play than it did last time going around. So don't count it out just yet. I know a lot of people have been kind of underselling it and been like, it's still just as lame as it always was, but who knows?
Yeah, I think this might see more play in a control shell than I think the Eldrazi deck will probably just play the colorless removal spell.
It's possible as well. It's very true.
It's possible if our next card gets popular, then maybe this one will be a little bit better.
I don't think this card will get that popular, at least for the time being, but let's talk about Kalidas, Trader of Get. We talked about him a little bit before. 2 generic black for a legendary creature vampire warrior. His lifelink has the Anafenza clause, so if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead, and then put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Also not tapped, which normally that clause is tapped, which is a big deal. So it's a 3/4. It has an activated ability of black and 2 generic. Sacrifice another vampire or zombie. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on Kalidas, Trader of Get. So we talked about this card being in a really weird space, especially in this format, because a 3/4 for 4 is not anywhere near exciting. It doesn't have Death Touch. It doesn't have flying, so it's not doing a lot by itself. However, having another card with the Exile clause in a format where Rally is already dominating is really powerful, and its effect is disgusting. I mean, if you get to kill just 1 or 2 creatures, and you have now created these small 2-for-1s where you have a large army, and then its activated ability becomes big. So this card is definitely powerful, but it's such a weird space.
I think it has more. I think it's a great sideboard card, and it has other applications than just the rally deck. If you played against a red aggressive deck, just the 3/4 lifelink will probably be good enough. It depends if they know to bring in Roast against you. If you're playing Abzan, they're going to bring in Roast against you.
Still boarding in your 4-drop though. How many 4-drops are you excited to board in the aggro matchup?
A 3/4 with lifelink that gives me another creature I'm excited to bring in.
I don't know if excited is the word. Anytime I'm trying to play a 4 card, especially with double black, there could be that scenario. It's not a bad card, but I'm not building my sideboard going, ooh, this is the answer to the red deck.
I think if they don't kill it, then they lose. I think they don't kill it the turn that you're tapped out.
Or you tapped out for 4 and they combo you out that turn through the 3 lifelink.
And that's completely possible. If they don't do that, then I think they lose. Because I think the zombie clause is really important against them too. You kill one of their guys and you're up a guy, so it's like a...
Again, being untapped is insane because then in combat you can kill a guy and then block with the zombie and just end the game. I don't disagree there. That's powerful.
I'm actually a little higher on this card than I was when we originally talked about it, which was a month ago, whatever. This was one of the first cards that was spoiled. You don't have to do a whole lot to make this card insane. It's just good. Yeah. You don't have to work that hard. Like you said, if you're able to just play this and then Fiery Impulse one of their creatures immediately or something like that. Even if they kill it, you're like, cool, all right. Well, I still have a 2/2.
The 3/4 lifelink is a little underrate for 4 mana, but like you said, you don't have to do much.
Yeah, Mike, I do want to point out it's not exactly Anafenza clause because Anafenza, it's like if creatures go to the graveyard from anywhere, not just dies.
You're right. That's true.
Yeah,
I don't want to shorthand. That's true.
It's similar, but not exactly the same.
Important because like Anafenza isn't the same set with like Sidisi where that matters. Which
right.
Whereas Sidisi I always haven't seen play, but this does not shut that off.
Right. But yeah, I do think this card is very good. I don't even think I wouldn't even say it's a sideboard card. I think it's just a very good card, and I think I would not be surprised to see a lot of standard play actually.
So. The rally deck will sometimes use Sidisi's Faithful to get rid of Anafenza and then go off on that turn with like a big attack. Like this guy gives you, if they do that, this guy gives you a zombie. I was playing rally a little bit on the beta and this guy, a nightmare. Just because like they always just kept getting more and more zombies.
I will still argue that its body is irrelevant against a lot of decks in the current format. However, we are going back to Innistrad, where there are also a ton of vampires and zombies. More than likely that you might act, because in this format you're not curving anything into, like what you're going to play your Draena to curve into this, right? No. But in the next format, like you'll take a card that's already fairly good without Tasigur or Siege Rhino in the format, and then all of a sudden it has like fuel. Then I think I'm more excited about that card. So that's where I stand with it.
I think the last point I just want to make on this is that it's a warrior as well, and we did see some black-white Warriors decks pop up, throughout this most recent standard. So
that's pretty good in that black-white mirror. Just having a way to gain more blockers and gain life,
and a guy that has bigger toughness than 3.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah. So this might be like a nice curve topper for black-white Warriors. I don't know if that's the way you want to go at this point, but I mean, just something to point out.
It does also have like a crazy costume, so it does kind of look like the Ultimate Warrior, which is a bonus in my book.
Oh man, it does. I'm just excited because I mean them having this card and then having it overlap with an Innistrad, it hopefully means that there might be some reanimation in Innistrad that might be constructor playable, and I'm a fan.
Do you like that? You like?
I'm a fan. It's been noted many times in this podcast of how much I miss acidic slamming my opponents and how good it has been to play a card from the set, which is a very similar effect, albeit more expensive, and it fills me with a glee.
Actual glee. Resource denial. He seems like a nice guy, and then he just wants to stone rain you out of the game.
I mean, whatever. So Black doesn't necessarily get a whole lot, but I think it gets some cards that are important. I think playing Tendrils is probably like the biggest gain for Black out of the set as it stands right now. I think Kalidas could be the biggest gain in the future.
I think Black actually gets a lot. I think Black is one of the better colors in this set.
Yeah, I think all their cards are like available. It's like probably the weakest card is like Grasp immediately. But
we talked about Reaver Drone. That card I don't think is good, but
I guess that's true. I think Reaver Drone encourages people to like go that direction with Eldrazi and encourages them to be aggressive with it. But you're right, it may not be like the card you end up playing.
There are 2/1s in this format with Raid that come back that haven't seen any play. There is a Planeswalker that's a 2/1 for 1 in this format that doesn't see pretty much any play outside of the Warriors deck recently that sort of picked up. And then this one's like, hey, I hope you enjoy taking damage every turn if you don't have anything else, or your opponent has removal supposed to go, oh, I'm going to kill that guy and leave the 2/1 2 thing. Like, that card seems unexciting. So, I don't know, we only talked about like 5 Black cards. The cards that Black gets, I think, are exciting and sort of like hard to like place. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe that's the exciting part about it. But again, I think all the colors are a little, just short shifted in this set because of so much colorless.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to red.
All right. First red card we're going to talk about is Eldrazi Obligator. It is a 2 generic and a red for a 3/1 haste with Devoid. It's a creature Eldrazi. When you cast Eldrazi Obligator, you may pay a generic and a colorless. If you do, gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap that creature, and it gains haste until end of turn. So basically, 3 mana, 3/1 haste with a kicker of being able to threaten one of your opponent's creatures. It's an interesting effect. It's very similar to what's the card I'm thinking of?
Zealous Conscripts.
Zealous Conscripts, but it's totally not Zealous Conscripts.
No, Zealous Conscripts said permanent, which is really good with Planeswalkers. It turns out.
Like Oh, like if it was just steal a permanent, you could just take your opponent's Gideon and
make it
-4.
How about you take your opponent's Ugin and then ultimate their Ugin?
Yeah,
and then you just have the best experience you could possibly have in your life.
but it doesn't do those things.
No.
Probably the best thing you'll probably be able to do with this one is steal your opponent's Ulamog, which may be relevant in these ramp mirrors possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But then again,
get countered.
yeah. Well, it is a cast trigger.
Ulamog, I think of Kozilek, I'm sorry.
But even if it doesn't get countered, though, you still get the effect.
Steal it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Nifty.
Ultimately, I don't know if this card is going to be good enough. It is a cool effect, and it's one that we haven't seen since Zealous Conscripts, really, on a creature. But
its body is so unappealing that it's just like it's a 3/1 with haste for 3, and it's like that is the worst curve. That's I think the real downer for this card is how bad the body is. Like I think if this was like a 3/2, I'd feel a lot better about it. But this being a 3/1 just means especially when you pay 5 mana for it, I hope you're getting something good because you're not nearly excited. I mean, Zealous Conscript being a 3/3 was huge as well, just because it represented a body that hitting for 3 is not irrelevant, but also attack through a lot of things. So this card I think has a chance to see some play, but its body is just so awkward that it's going to push out of a lot of decks.
It feels very sideboard when you look at it. A lot of threat and effects are already sideboard cards anyway, and then a lot of the times you may just want to be playing Active Treason anyway over this card. Now it is modal, much like Bearer of Silence, but the evasion on Bearer of Silence is at least something to write home about. And then you could argue even that the effect of making your opponent sacrifice a creature rather than stealing a creature could be more impactful, but that's all contextual. But I don't hate this card. I kind of like it. Gives you obligations. Creature's like, hey, I'm going to do this. And you're like, no. You got to go wash these dishes.
You get work in the morning. You can't go partying.
Can't go party. You got to come over here, attack your owner. All right.
I still can't get over the pun.
Sorry.
All right,
you are
Kelly.
contractually obligated.
Yeah.
You signed it.
I don't remember signing anything.
Well, okay,
come
so
on.
Kozilek created an alternate timeline where you signed it. Unfortunately for you, it's binding.
All right, Kelly, you get the best card in the set.
We have Kozilek's Return, 2 generic and a red for an instant. The void deals 2 damage to each creature. When you cast an Eldrazi creature spell with converted mana cost 7 or greater, you may exile Kozilek's Return from your graveyard. If you do, Kozilek's Return deals 5 to each creature. Man, this card's disgusting.
Yeah, this card is just even playing against it, the first time, and I knew this having read the card, but the first time, counted the first half of it was way ahead, and then they counted. I'm I had the Dispel in the hand that I was like, oh no, I don't even get to do that.
Yep.
No, it's just a triggered ability because that's what this card should be.
Oh, you mean free Wrath of Gods are good?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Oh, cool.
I had no idea.
You guys went over this pretty much.
Yeah, we did,
last week or
and
whatever.
we didn't have the full format when we saw it the first time, and we knew it was going to be good. But now, even looking at the context of the format, red has been pushed in a really weird direction in this set. There's almost no aggressive cards. Even the Obligator, we just said is a 5 mana really effect. There's no good burn spell. There's no Goblin Guidance cards. We have a bad Goblin Bushwhacker, and I mean a bad Goblin Bushwhacker. So. Did you put
It's worse than Bushwhacker, but I don't think it's bad.
You think it's standard playable?
Sure.
Why isn't it on the list then? Because it wasn't standard playable. All right, so
We'll talk about that when we get there.
no, we're not. It's not on the list, is it?
Put it on
Whatever.
the list.
It's on my list.
Anyways, so I think red is really pushed to be bigger. There's obviously it pairs well with ramp, but I think some of the even cards in the card we'll talk about next, has this idea that you don't want to play. They want you to play red a little bit differently, which is interesting. And this card is the payoff for it. So, it's awkward that it's in a set where, outside of some of the Eldrazi, there's not really a deck set up for it. You have a Target Red, which is still going to be a thing. But, Black White Warriors, maybe? There's not a lot of decks where, this card is going to be as much of a beating. So it's almost like they set up this set to be okay, we're not going to push you towards aggressive decks because we've built 2 hosers in this deck that are really going to punish you for playing this. Instant speed on this just continues to blow my mind. This effect should not be an instant, regardless of all the other stuff. should not be an instant.
Yeah, this one was definitely pushed. And I personally, I think
kicked down some stairs.
Yeah, I think this is one of, if not the best card in the set.
Yeah,
I think this has a lot of
arguments for me.
I think it has a lot of modern applications as well. I think we talked about it in Tron, possibly. The fact that it is colorless lets you get it off of a ancient stirrings, which is pretty gross. It kills things like Etch Champion and Affinity, which not a lot of spells do.
I think this might see play in Burn Mirrors. The more I keep looking at this, like Burn is always struggling to find a way to make sure they don't lose to a bunch of core Firewalkers in the mirror.
Yep.
And this one takes care of all of them.
Yeah, it kills the Burns and Forge Tender, Core Firewalker, Auriok Champion. We talked about that, or basically the whole tokens deck.
Tokens deck, yeah.
Yeah,
good thing the top eight had open while it could.
Yeah, and these are all these examples that we're using are just for the front half of like the two damage. Like if you're playing Tron, you could actually trigger the 5, later in the game.
And you're definitely
not
triggering
even that much
standard.
later.
Like you're definitely triggering this in standard.
Yeah.
As I personally got to experience both halves of this card, and it's great. So I'm a fan.
I feel like it's like an echo, right? You're like Kozilek, and it's like Kozilek. So I think this, and we can talk about the Bushwhacker, but I really do think like they've tried to push like red into like a pair color that's a little bit bigger overall. So it's sort of interesting because like you just don't have you don't have your 1-drops, you don't have your burn spells, you don't have good token makers. Like, you just don't really have that aggressive deck outside of some of the Eldrazi cards. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Can I just point out something? I don't really want to talk about this card that much, but I just want to piggyback off of Kozilek's return. Reality Hemorrhage, which is 1 generic and a red for an instant, devoid, deals 2 damage to target creature or player. I feel like this card might have seen some play, like to kill those pro-red guys that we talked about earlier, but we just have Kozilek's return instead, so it's like, oh, cool. Like,
I'll just
this
play
card
that
is
instead.
This card is sad now, but it might have seen some fringe play before.
It is important to know that this can still go to the face. Reality Hemorrhage can still go to the face, so that is the upside of it, but it's a very narrow upside.
Yes.
This is what we're going to have instead of Lightning Strike.
Yep.
Right.
We did it. 2 mana shocks. So
that Jeskai Cincy deck needed more burn, huh?
awkward. Yeah.
Still does.
I don't know. That's even what I'm looking at. Like you have bad shock. You have like brute strength in this format, which is bad Titan strength. Like it just seems like it's like everything that could be good for red aggressively is like, all right, easy now, easy. Okay.
You guys had your time.
Red's good enough. It's fine.
So next card though, I feel like this is kind of like Divine Providence.
This lined up.
They lined up for me. This is not planned. We actually added cards. Maybe that's how it worked out. But it was Chandra Flamecaller. Now we did talk about Chandra a little bit. Obviously, when we talked about her, we had that sort of what if stamp going on, and she turned out to be very, very much the real deal. 4 generic red for a Planeswalker with 4 loyalty. +1, put 2 3/1 red elemental creature tokens with haste onto the battlefield. Exile in the beginning of the next end step. 0, discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards +1, and -X, Chandra Flamecaller deals X damage to each creature. So we talked about this a fair amount when it first got spoiled, and now again we have the context of the whole set. Awkwardly, again, red is pushed a little bit bigger, but also red in general does not, outside of Kozilek's return, which is insanely strong, seems to be strongly pushed to support. I was really hoping for like the big red deck, and I don't know if it's here or not, but
Red Eldrazi.
But I mean, this card has a lot of people split on its implications in Standard. I know that Jerry Thompson thinks that this is the best card in the set, which is a fairly bold claim. And I don't know. This one's very hard to kind of evaluate. I think it could be somewhat of a finisher. It definitely kind of has some of the makings of one, and then certain people have been making decks that kind of really focus around this too, right. Like Melissa DeToro,
She
making a blue-red tutelage list.
Yep.
Which is a pretty sweet list.
That Zero's pretty sick with the
yeah. How many cards do I draw? A lot. So, there are implications where this card, like, It could be good. I really like this card too, and I really want to, cast it in standard and like have a good time with it. So
I just don't know where to put it yet. Other than it was really good in that Sphinx tutelage deck, but
Yeah.
other than that,
I don't know. I think as we get more of a shape of the format, that it could go even to something that like green red Eldrazi. Like
Yeah.
it could go in there, maybe not. There could be a red based mid range deck where this is sort of where you want to be, like red white deck that has this, and then you also have like Needle Spires as being some of your win conditions, which is kind of interesting, along with Gideon potentially. Which is really interesting. So, I mean, yeah, you make 4/2 elementals with we have a Gideon emblem in play. So, I mean, that's pretty cool.
I've come around on this card a little bit. I think when we first talked about it, I wasn't that high on it. I've come around a little bit. I think it's better than I originally gave it credit for. I don't know that I would call it the best card of the set. I think a lot of people have been comparing this to Elspeth Sun's Champion. Which,
I mean, all they've been saying is it's not Elspeth Sun's Champion, right?
well, it's a 6-mana planeswalker that has kind of a sweeper ability. The awkward thing with Chandra is that it lines up very poorly against Siege Rhino, which I don't know how good it can be if it's bad against Siege Rhino.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, all 3 abilities are all very
They're all
good.
good.
Like, there are no throwaway abilities here.
Yeah.
So, we'll kind of see where the format goes, and maybe it'll be held in check by Siege Rhino for a little while. But I think after rotation,
So if you want to use her to kill a Siege Rhino, you just have to have an Oath of Gideon in place.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was like, well, you just do that, and then she comes in with 5, and then you just, you're still kind of not ideal. Yeah, I like this card though. I think out of the 2 planeswalkers we have, I think this is the better one.
Yeah. I would say so.
In my opinion.
I'll take the other side.
I mean, that's fine. But I mean, I would definitely not disagree if someone said it was a toss up.
Yeah, well, I'll certainly say that's probably true.
So,
All right. So I get this card too. All right. The next card we have is Expedite, which is 1 red instant. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. Draw a card. So I got the blue cantrip, and now I got the red cantrip.
and this was the first one that we saw. So this kind of got spoiled, and everyone's like, "Oh man, this could be like what Jeskai Ascendancy needs." And then we got the blue one. They're like, "We don't really need Expedite." Cool.
Now we can play
Now we
12 of them.
Yeah.
We have
with
one
the
in every color
Defiant
now.
Strike. Yeah.
It is nice for, I know that a lot of people have been brewing with blue-red prowess and standard, trying to make an aggressive deck like that, and then Expedite has of course been a part of this. And it's definitely required, I think, for that kind of deck to be a thing. You just want more cheap spells like this and Titan Strength to be able to keep your guys hitting for a lot of damage. So, but it's a cool spell to kind of see. I mean, we kind of saw it with a Crimson Wisps, except your guy now retains his color, doesn't become a red card, which is it could be good or bad. I don't know.
If you would have told me 6 years ago that we're comparing cards to Crimson Wisps, I don't know if I would have believed you.
Well, here we are. But
now you can give your non-red creature haste, and then attack through a core Firewalker. So
there you go.
Turn it red.
We did it.
Yeah.
Dave's color trivia.
I'm really enjoying all of this. In all honesty, it's kind of
these
ridiculous.
are right off the top too. I didn't come up with these before.
No,
We couldn't tell at all.
Mike, you have
the
anything?
most undeserved smug level I've ever heard in my entire life.
You have anything to expound upon this card?
No, I mean I'm definitely excited for it. You trying to build with it. I mentioned I've been trying to build tokens with it, and I know Keller was testing that list a little bit, and it's not right quite there, but there's something to say that you have so many of these cantrips, like you mentioned, and like a blue-red manland with Ascendancy, so like you can like go off with your manland. You're like, oh, Expedited, oh, Slip Through Space, oh, Delve, Treasure Cruise, and you keep untapping your manland, which is like really disgusting. Obviously requires a bunch of mana to do it. Don't know if that's actually better than the Nolandar version of the deck, but those cantrips that always give you a card, they're potent with Ascendancy. We only get Ascendancy for a little while longer, so I think like they were just like, you know what? Go crazy, kids. Figure it out.
And then they gave us a 1-mana green spell that's like, well, if it does get too crazy, you have a cheap interactive way to deal with it. I think that's about it for Expedite. We can move on safely, I believe.
All right, next one is Goblin.
I see what you did there.
Goblin Dark Dwellers, the 3 generic red for a creature goblin. Menace. Oh, he's a 4/4. Sorry. Menace. When this enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. Exile it instead. I think this card goes into like a Jund 2-for-1, get all the value deck. Just casting like a complete disregard again, casting a Grasp of Darkness again for free.
First card I thought of was Crackling Doom with this one.
Okay,
That's pretty sweet.
that's pretty good too.
I've had Colgan's Command cast against me with it too.
That might be all right.
One of these was already dead
Yeah.
when that happened. So
All the cards.
that was unfortunate
all
for
the
me.
value.
So this is kind of the card I was talking about as well when I mentioned how red is sort of aimed to be bigger. You know what I mean? Like this is a cool, unique effect that is not aggressive. You know what I mean?
It's a red Snapcaster.
Yep. I mean
it kinda
it's
is.
actually not that crazy because Snapcaster does on average cost 4 to 5 if you're actually getting a spell back. So I guess it's not. Don't worry. I'm not going to indulge in too much here. But
It's a 4/4.
now I will say I think I would hold that against this card, but Menace I think is actually really relevant here. So because it allows if you're playing this with a lot of tricks you want to play for 3 mana anyways, then if this forces like awkward double blocks, then you get all the chances to blow people out with it too. So.
Yeah, and it's important to note that this is the buy box promo, and a lot of the times they make cards that are good buy box promos.
Yeah, like Relic Seeker.
Except for Relic Seeker.
And Dictate of the Twin Gods.
Was that the buy box promo?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so. We'll research it.
And Devil's Play.
Devil's Play.
Let's play Saw Some Play. It wasn't the worst.
Saw some Devil's
Saw
Play.
some Devil's Play. Even if you're just getting something with this card, even if you're just getting...
Oh, no, it was Eidolon of Blossoms. My apologies. That was
That definitely saw play. You also have Sylvan Caryatid, which saw play.
Shamanic Revelation. I don't even know what that does.
Draw a card for each creature you control, and it had Ferocious. You gain 4 life for each creature with 4 power or greater. Did it. Tell me I'm right.
I'm not going to look it up.
All right.
No, with the...
Clearly you have some hits or misses, but this one seems to be on the hit
most of these are
side.
hits. Yeah, most of these are
Okay,
hits.
fair enough.
Yeah, with the Goblin Dark Dwellers, even if you're just getting an Expedite, like if you have an Expedite in your yard and you're just casting it and drawing a card, sure.
That's insane.
Give it haste. Get in there.
Now, I think the card I've seen this most commonly used with outside of all the removal spells is actually Read the Bones, which makes a lot of sense. You want to, like when you read this card, I'm like, man, I want to cast Painful Truths off of it. But as we said,
you don't.
No, bad. No Radiant Flames, no Painful Truths. But Read the Bones is the card where you cast that on turn 3, you play your removal spells on turn 2 and 4, then you play this guy, and then you've got a choice of what's going on in the graveyard, and then turn 6 you play Chandra.
All the value.
And you dump your hand into your graveyard and draw more cards, and draw more goblins to play all the cards that you dumped into the graveyard. This deck plays itself.
Isn't it weird that you could build just red-black value? Which,
No, you could.
The old keyword for red-black in Rakdos was Hellbent. It's like the opposite of value.
Yeah, they kind of got the other way on that one. Interesting.
It's come a long way.
Hey, everyone likes value.
It's true.
Oh, Mike, you're up.
Yeah, so I added a card to red that I thought was fairly important to talk about, and it's also, I guess, namesake for me. So this card is Big Tears of Valakut.
You skipped Goblin Freerunner.
Did I? That was not on the list when I looked.
Just kind of a troll for Dave.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not talking about that card. I'm talking about Tears of Valakut.
But he's the parkour goblin.
Parkour!
Parkour!
Tears of Valakut is a red and a blue for an instant target. Tears of Valakut can't be countered by spells or abilities. It deals 5 damage to target creature with flying. So this is your sort of combust style card. Yeah, I know you're giving it a weird look right now, but I think this is a fairly important card for standard. We still have a lot of dragons running around. Obviously, we have Rending Volley for a little bit longer, but this card will stick around after that.
Rending Volley still sticks around, though, right?
Well, this goes further than that one.
That's
too,
true.
It's also important that we're going to Innistrad, which is we normally have some big bad vampires going around,
Angels
and angels as well. So
demons.
Oh my! So I think it's important to see this kind of card sitting here. It can't be countered. 5 damage is a lot for the red deck. So you now literally have Roast and Tears of Valakut in the same format. Whatever thing you need to kill, you have the answer. I hope you draw the right one.
Yeah, right. Now, I would expect this card to... I don't know if the uncounterability is going to be something that you actively want. I mean, it's nice that it's on there. But, like, is this that much better than Plummet, for example? Like, Plummet saw some sideboard.
I mean, if you're a red deck, yes.
I think so, but like people don't attack with their Ojutine unless they can counter your removal spell.
Okay.
That's why Rending Volley has been good.
Yeah, Rending Volley. I will say this one does kill Dragonlord Silumgar as well. So, like, as an Esper Dragons player, I don't really want to see this card.
It also kills Newland Vala. Sure. So I'm just saying, like, there are things that this kills that are. I think it's important when you see a card like this. The can't be counter clause may or may not be relevant, depends on the format. But an instant speed 5 damage to a flyer for the red deck, it's a good thing to have sitting there. I don't think it sees play outside of this format when you already have Combustor, Rending Volley, and Modern. But
another relevant one that Red's had trouble kill is Archangel Ties.
Oh yeah,
it's 3/5. They can't roast it because it flies. I'm coming around on this card.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that it's sitting there, and I love the flavor of this card. Where like everything's so bad that Valakut's like, no.
I'm so sad. All right. Well, Red probably got like 2 of the best cards in the entire set. So
yeah, I think 3. I think Goblin
Dark Dwellers. Yeah,
is really high up on the list.
I wouldn't disagree with you on that one either. So Red looks pretty good.
Chandra.
If
I know you're not as high on Chandra, it's okay.
I definitely like some of the cards coming out of here, and we'll kind of see where everything falls with Chandra. I think that one's like the one that's kind of up in the air the most. So we'll see what happens with that. But Kozilek's Return, that's a home run right there. People have been saying like, maybe you should just consider pre-ordering those at $14.99 a piece if you can find them, because they'll probably be worth that, if not more. You'll be kicking yourself for paying $120 for a playset of that card later on in its card's lifetime.
How gorgeous is the foil of that card going to look?
Probably really good. It's probably look great, especially when you get some fat stacks for it.
The best red card is colorless.
Yes, correct.
Cool. It is kind of annoying that it's a mythic.
It's super annoying, but I mean, like, that's not necessarily like a card that
annoying for price reasons.
Well, it's just annoying that it's.
I think
a lot of people
feels way mythic.
Well, yes, it does feel mythic because of the trigger from the graveyard. Like, I think that card would be awesome if you took that whole second half off of it and it was just 2 damage.
I think it's mythic for more than that too. This is a huge story moment. Like they try to do that with mythic cards too. Like this is a major story moment. Like this is the failure of all of the things that Battle was trying to like we did it. We're gonna kill them all. It's gonna be great. And Kozilek's like, did you forget about me? Don't worry. You're gonna spend eternity remembering.
Much like Dre, they forgot about Kozilek.
I really want to write that rap now. Except for Kozilek's a really hard thing to rhyme with.
Yeah, it's also like 3 syllables.
Hey, I'm Kozilek. Y'all get wrecked. I'm done. That's all I have.
We're good.
Wow, we went there.
That's all I got. 2 lines. Hot fire.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because we see this as a utility card. It's and that's what's frustrating about it is like where we're used to Pyroclasm and things like that.
Uncommons and now the mythic one that's worth $20. Yeah,
right.
That's frustrating because like it does feel like it's hampered price wise only because they decided to make a mythic out of a tournament staple. Like there's no way they printed this card thinking people might catch on to how good this card is.
Yeah, it's kind of on the nose, just like Gideon. Like Gideon is also a Planeswalker though, which could not be anything else. So that's kind of the difference. Anyway, let's move on to green. And we'll start with Ruin in Their Wake. Who wants to read that one?
Do you want to do this one? I feel like this one was for you.
I mean, I guess I don't think it's very good. After much consideration,
first card you get to read. Here you go.
It's the almost. It's the what if. So Ruin in Their Wake. 1 in a green. All right, devoid. Search your library for a basic land card and reveal it. All right, I like where this is going.
Just reveal it. Just put it back.
You may put that card onto the battlefield tapped. All right, I like that. If you control a land named Waste, That is a large downside. Otherwise, put that card into your hand and then shuffle your library. So the closest maybe I've seen this be played is Sam Black had a green red Eldrazi list that was playing 4 Wastes and 4 Evolving Wilds, and then 4 Oath of Nissa, which we'll talk about later, as ways to try to cobble this together and make it work. And first of all, you may not need it. It's very powerful. If you can just consistently have Rampant Growth in this deck, in Green Red Eldrazi, it would be the best thing in the world. If you're just like, yeah, whatever, and not having to rely on mana creatures and things like that is huge, especially when you're playing a 2 damage sweeper in your deck now. Relying on mana creatures is kind of rough. So you really want this card just to work, but you just have to do too much to the deck to weaken it to have a really strong card. And I don't think it's worth it. I haven't had enough time to really break it down and test with it to see how consistent it is, but I just don't think it's needed.
It's a lot of work for Rampant Growth.
Right.
They couldn't have just printed straight Rampant Growth in this
No,
format.
not at all. And I mean, it was definitely a pipe dream for even to get even a 1 mana accelerant.
Wrong video game. They're clearly playing Tetris on this card.
That's true.
It's not pipe dream.
I think it would have been cool if they made this a Rampant Growth that can only get wastes. That might have been interesting. That way it's not really it's kind of fixing your mana if you're playing colorless.
That's probably still too good.
Yeah, I definitely think it is.
Anyway. Well, it doesn't do that, so.
It's unfortunate. And maybe in the future we get things change where there is a viable, mono green strategy that can play this, but I think you need to be mono green to play the critical amount of wastes as well as colorless lands to really, make this card sing, as it were. So
I guess it has this going for it. The first one, if you don't already have a waste, you can get a waste.
Yeah.
And then all the rest of them will be Rampant Growth.
There you go. We did it. That's not a very good justification for this chart for this card.
2 mana Lay of the Land in your deck, but no. What are you gonna do?
All right. Next up is let me check out the sheet.
Vile Redeemer.
Vile Redeemer. That's what I figured.
I feel like are we out of? Oh no, there it is. Okay. Oh yeah, Devoid. Yeah, I was thinking we were out of order there. All right, Vile Redeemer is 2 generic and a green for an Eldrazi, 3/3. Has Devoid and Flash. When you cast Vile Redeemer, you may pay a colorless. If you do, put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token onto the battlefield for each non-token creature that died under your control this turn. And of course, the Eldrazi Scions have sacrifice, add a colorless. I actually kind of like this card. There's been a lot of cards like this in the past, like Caller of the Claw type.
Fresh meat.
Fresh meat. I guess the body on this isn't embarrassing. Like a 3/3 Flash for 3 isn't the worst. And then you only have to pay a single colorless, and then you get as many tokens as you're going to get. It's not like you have to keep paying.
So has that effect ever been good, though?
Not
I
really.
remember when Call of the Claw was spoiled and people were going bonkers for it, and it never did what you wanted it to do. And Fresh Meat never did either. I just don't see this card is a lot harder to work with than those cards because you have to leave up another mana.
And it gives you smaller creatures.
It gives you much smaller creatures, and you have to have a generic or not generic, a colorless mana specifically is the one you left up. So I don't think this card is very. This effect always feels like it should be good. Man, these Wrath decks. Look at the format. What Wrath deck is running around in the first place?
All of the decks that could have, I guess, best taken advantage of this, or they're gonna have a lot of creatures in play. Most of the time, it's going to be around tokens, and this doesn't trigger off tokens.
And our Infest now exiles creatures, which doesn't trigger this either.
Yeah. So ultimately, I don't think this is.
I think we're all a pass on this card.
Yeah, this card's it feels like a trap card. Not like a Yu-Gi-Oh trap card, but
Well, I think
a card that is a trap.
If you're new to the game, if you're new and you've not seen this card printed before, you didn't see these other cards we've talked about, I think your first inclination is to look at that card and think it should be good because you can think of a scenario where you've been blown out by a Wrath effect, and this is going to be good. But if you even think about your curve the way you want it to be, if you curved a 2-drop into a 3-drop into a 4-drop, a board where a Wrath effect is even good, then how do you have the mana to cast this?
Yeah, it's just in a color that doesn't work well with these reactive cards. Where you leave 4 mana up, your opponent doesn't Wrath. What are you going to do? You can't just cast an instant speed card draw because you're green.
Right.
You can't cast a burn spell because, again, you're green.
Let me just throw this out there. I don't know if this is actually good or not. But if you're playing like a rally deck, right? And a lot of times you'll rally at the end of your opponent's turn. Then on your upkeep with the rally trigger on the stack, you're going to sacrifice all the creatures' turn in Tuco Husk. You could potentially play this card after that and just get a bunch of Eldrazi Science. I don't know if that's good, but that's another way that you could play it. You could play it almost offensively.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of using the card, but I think the 4 mana card you want in that deck is Collect a Company because it works when things aren't going well for you. You can collect company into creatures.
Now, one thing I will say, the one thing I have seen this card, and I don't want to talk about it too much because it's a cast trigger, but there's been a couple of builds running around. I've seen there was already a blue-green collected company tempo deck that existed in this format. It was popular really early on when the original Jeskai tempo deck was also around. Like I played it a couple times at the regionals for it.
Is it the Bounding Crassus?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is another 3-mana flash creature that also can be hit off Collected Company. So if that tempo deck does exist, and again, we are sitting here with like Slip Through that we already saw, and like other there's some bounce spells, and I've already seen like another card we can get to, the Reflector Mage, getting hit off of those companies as well. I think there could be a tempo deck that wants just the flash creature. It doesn't even care about the trigger. It just wants the flash creature.
I can see this. If you leave 4 mana up, they don't Wrath, then you just cast Collect a Company instead.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot more sense. That gives green actually something to do.
So maybe it's playable there, but then again, you also have to find you have Yavimaya Coast and what else for your colorless mana. So, but I do think like a 3/3 fly that's probably where it's most possible to be successful is just as a 3/3 beater that comes down with flash. So.
Yeah, so if you're in the market for a Wolfir Avenger, there you go.
I mean, in that format, that card was pretty good.
Yeah.